Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, all you rock dwellers. Welcome, all you sycophants, stinkos, all you hateful people who celebrate the president. You know, you're always welcome here, and that's to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, and joining me as my co-host is the patriot from the battle-born state, the silver state of Nevada. That's my very dear friend, Sharron Engel. Sharron, welcome back to Conservative Commandos.
Thanks so much, Rick. You know, I'm always looking through the news for things that probably you won't hear on the mainstream media. And of course, I found some Nevada-centric things today. You know, you always want to know what your culture is doing to respond to the coronavirus. And we have a unique culture here in Nevada. As you know, we have legalized prostitution, and the brothels have responded. They're not going to close, though. You know, our mayor here in Reno said that all non-essential businesses must close. This is a mandate, non-essential businesses. Well, we don't have any brothels in Reno, so they didn't feel particularly obliged to that mandate, but they are taking some steps. They said they're going to make their patrons, their customers, mask up.
Mask up.
Yeah, get a mask. Get a mask. That's how they're going to confront the virus. Get a mask.
Oh my gosh. Geez. Wow, I hate to tell you what I'm thinking. I wonder what other precautions. Anyway, I don't.
Anyway, if you want to know more about Nevada-centric coronavirus fighting, you can just Google it. It's you know, I think we have to have a little laughter sometimes, because
yes,
I heard that our mayor was going to mandate the closure of all non-essential businesses. You know, the first thought is, how can government mandate the closure of private business? I mean, they could ask. That's not outside the parameters of the Constitution. If government asks, and right, you say, certainly I would like to comply with that, but to mandate it, I mean, there was all kinds of little things going through my mind. First, how can you do that constitutionally? Secondly, my thought was, how do you decide what's essential? Of course, you know, to anybody who has a job, their business, that job is essential. And to anybody that owns the business, that's essential to their livelihood. So, you know, to call people non-essential is really quite a smack in the face. And it turns out that Reno, and anybody who's been to Reno knows that Sparks, our neighboring city, there really is no separation. You don't know when you've left Reno and gone into Sparks. We're so close together. In fact, there's an old saying that Reno is so close to hell, you can see Sparks. So, so that's the local humor. And so Reno is mandated, and all non-essential businesses are closed. But Sparks said, not so fast. We're not going to close our businesses. And the rest of the county that we live in said, nope, that's not from the health department. That's just a flying hair from your mayor. The rest of us are going to study this and make sure that's what needs to happen. Yep. And, you know, they're putting out their advisory, acting a little cooler heads. But I thought it was interesting that a sister city so close is saying, not so fast, we're not going to do that. And they're not overreacting. Of course, it has the difference is in leadership. The Reno mayor is a Democrat. The Sparks mayor is a Republican. So you can see it right there in the way that they respond. It's this knee-jerk hysteria seems to have caught the liberal lefties by surprise, and they just can't seem to get a handle on their fear. And I'm thinking that you know, we need to have a cool head about this. Of course, there are certain things that we should do to avoid being exposed to this. You and I were exposed inadvertently. And by the way, I Googled that and found out who exposed us. So it's
who was that?
Known, even if we're if we're not being told by CPAC themselves, other sleuths have gone in there and said, well, we know who it is, and they named him, and the guy self-quarantined. He,
who is? Give me the name, Sharron, because I've been blasting the American Conservative Union CPAC with not being transparent.
well, the Daily Caller, I think, or the Daily Beast, I can't remember exactly where I found it, but if you Google it, you can see that they found a doctor. He's a 55-year-old guy, lives in Englewood, New Jersey, is in the hospital. His name is Dr. Alan Berger. He contracted the virus at church, actually. Well, he was at synagogue. He doesn't call it church, but he was with a gathering, and that's where he contracted it. And of course, when he realized, he self-quarantined, he got to the hospital.
Well, he did the right things,
everything that he needed to do.
Right.
So, but knowing that, you and I didn't have contact with him. So now I feel a whole lot more secure about having visited my elderly aunt and my at-risk daughter and grandson. And I know that probably you do too, because you didn't have any contact with him either. And even though they can say, well, we don't think you had contact, we know that on Radio Row, we had contact with lots and lots of people who had contact with lots and lots of people.
Yeah, well, I blame CPAC. I think that the American Conservative Union, CPAC, should have been more transparent. They weren't. They were very vague as far as, well, they didn't release who it was. They didn't say where this person was or where you may have had contact with him. They told you to places. Well, if you were here, he wasn't here, and he wasn't here. But they really didn't go into a lot of depth, a lot of great detail. And, we made several requests for the American Conservative Union spokespeople, either Matchlap or Ian Walters, to come on our show to discuss this. Not just discuss this, but what steps have been taken or are going to be taken to ensure that the other 10,000 people who attended CPAC weren't also
infected. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey,
well,
Sharron,
interesting.
Yeah.
Other news sources agree with us. That's all I was going to say. In the Google search I did, everyone was a little upset.
Yeah, they should be. Sharron, let's get a break, and I'm losing track of time today, but this is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Drader. My co-host is Sharron Angle. We'll be right back right after this break.
Are you a veteran and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved. And it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply. And mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty? We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt! Always fear! The debt suckers are here! Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution. Because debt sucks!
The AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. Buyyourtimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94.
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 50 100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I should have said earlier, and I didn't, but today's show, like all our shows, is being brought to you by the First Amendment and protected by the Second. With that, Sharron, we've got three great guests joining us today.
We do. Our first guest is Congressman Tom Price, who served as a U.S. Representative for Georgia's 6th Congressional District, encompassing the northern suburbs of Atlanta. He's a physician, and he was appointed as Secretary of Health and Human Services by President Donald Trump. While in Congress, he chaired the House Committee on Budget, the Republican Study Committee, and the Republican Policy Committees. We've asked him to come on and talk to us specifically from his perspective as a doctor and a congressman about the coronavirus. Our second guest is Robert Powell, who started his career in finance in 1969 as an OTC trader in Philadelphia and then became an investment advisor for several different groups, ending his career with retirement in October of 2017. And we've asked Robert to come on and talk about the markets. What's going to happen? We see the stock market just going up, down, up, down, up, down. With this coronavirus, we want to know, should we buy low and sell high? And we're going to ask him that question. Our last guest is Paul Driessen, longtime friend of the show. He's the Senior Policy Advisor for the Committee for Constructive Tomorrow, CFACT, and an author of articles and books on energy, environmental, and human rights issues. And he's going to talk to us about an article he wrote, How Exactly Do They Plan to Replace Fossil Fuels?
All right, so indeed, we do have three great guests, and that's always the hallmark of our show, is the terrific guests who trust the Conservative Commandos by appearing with us. Well, Sharron, this mania over the virus, and I've said it before, this isn't the first time that we've had a flu and virus season. That last year, 61,000 people died from the virus. The year before, 78,000 people died from it. And there were no closures. There was not this hysteria. I say it's because an election year. I say it's because the media is trying to defeat Donald Trump You got to worry, you got to wonder, and you got to feel sorry for Sharron, all the people that have been put out of work because of these closures. We're going to have a guest on tomorrow, Curtis Lewa. Curtis is a radio talk show host on WABC in New York. He's also running for mayor against Michael Bloomberg. And Michael Bloomberg is shutting all the bars, restaurants, everything down in New York. And my God, what kind of a financial hit is businesses going to take? And I'm hoping that people remember this come November when they go and to elect their mayors, their governors, their congressmen, their senators. I hope they remember the people that put them out of work, Sharron Engel. And I guess it's our job to keep reminding them of who put you out of work. My gosh.
And that I think was the reason why I mentioned our mayor, because she wanted to close the casinos. Now, here's how this goes. She announces that they're non-essential. The casinos, the bars, the restaurants. She specifically named those sectors, and she had to backtrack on that. In fact, when she backtracked, she says, well, I just meant the bars and the restaurants that don't have drive-throughs or some kind of delivery system. Completely left out the whole thought about casinos, because obviously once she made her calls, she got lots of calls from an industry that has 1/3 of the economy in this state. And they said, what are you thinking? And of course, she wasn't thinking. She's not thinking about the jobs. There's a lot of service industry jobs in this state, and they're suffering already. People aren't traveling. They're not coming to the state anyway, but to ask them to consider themselves non-essential, it was truly a big insult. And it's just like what you're saying about Bloomberg. That's basically what he's saying. People are being very introspective when it comes to this virus. They are doing things on their own to take precautions to take care of themselves. And we can see that in the way that they've stopped traveling. I can see it in the grocery store. I went to the gym yesterday. There were 4 people in my class where there used to be 20. And that was because the gym closed. That was just because people are saying, I don't go there now.
Well, many places in the country, gyms are being closed. So you all these workers, the tip workers, some governors are saying, well, the drive-through restaurants will remain open. Well, that's great. But what about all the tip workers? What about, the restaurant business? I'm always amazed at what a tough business it is, and a lot of these businesses are just hanging on as it is. And my God, to mandate that they close. I hope they remember who these politicians are that are putting them out of business. I mean, this is really, really, really crazy. It's going far. And I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'll say it a million times. It reminds me of 2008, the hysteria with the banking crisis. Here we go again, another election year. And I say it's the media. I say it's their Democrat cohorts that are doing this. And they're doing this to crush the Trump economy, crush the Trump economy, crush the Trump presidency. In doing so, they're crushing our country. They don't care, Sharron. They don't care. Just so they can regain power. The hell with the country doesn't matter to them, just so they can be in charge once again. I know. Getting out of hand here. I'm getting out of hand. Sharron, let's go to a break. And we are the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host is Sharron Engel. We're coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. On the other side, we're going to have Congressman Tom Price join us. He was also the Secretary of the Health and Human Services Department with the Trump administration. He's also a physician. So we're going to get the scoop directly from the man himself, Dr. Congressman Tom Price. Don't go away. We'll be right back right after this break with our first guest.
Veteran, and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans, and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved, and it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply, and mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline Refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty?
We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt. Always fear, the debt suckers are here!
Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution.
Because debt sucks!
The AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94.
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 5100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
And once again, we want to welcome you back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host is Sharron Engel. And for rebroadcast of our shows, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. Be sure to like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And with that, Sharron, we do have our next guest with us, and the honor of that introduction is all yours.
Well, and I am pleased and honored to introduce Congressman Tom Price, who served as a U.S. Representative for Georgia's 6th Congressional District, encompassing the northern suburbs of Atlanta. He's a physician, and Dr. Price was appointed Secretary of Health and Human Services by President Donald Trump. While in Congress, he chaired the House Committee on the Budget, Republican Study Committee, and the Republican Policy Committee. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show, Congressman Dr. Tom Price.
Thanks, Sharon. So very, very much good to be with you and Rick and with your audience. Great to be with you today. Thanks.
Well, it's great to have you with us. And, I remember, of course, the first time I met you, and it was as part of that Republican study group. You were one of those strong conservatives who didn't waver at all. And I was really happy with your appointment to the secretary position of Health and Human Services. And that's really why we've invited you to come on the show, is not to talk so much about being a congressman, but about your professional opinion on what's going on in this nation. You're a doctor, a physician first. That's why they put you on that Health and Human Services. They wanted an expert there. They got him, and now we've got him on our show. So, I got a call from my son. My daughter-in-law has been exposed to COVID-19, and she's home with a cold or whatever. My son has a compromised immune system. He has asthma and has, since he was a child, has had to have those kinds of interventions. But when she called, they said, no worries, just stay home and take care of your cold. Okay, so I'm thinking, now, a lot of people are going to be calling on these kinds of things and asking these questions. If they called you, what would you say?
Well, thanks so much. And it is a great honor to be with you, especially at this remarkably challenging time that we have in our country. I think that it's time for everybody to step back and just just put things into perspective. This is a new infectious disease. There's no doubt about it. And it's important that we appreciate that as a nation. That's what the public health folks understand and appreciate. It's what the doctors and the nurses and all the folks who are trying to care for these patients understand. And with that comes a lot of unknowns. But there are some things that aren't unknown. And that is that this is a coronavirus. It's the same family of viruses that we see with the common cold. It's the same family of viruses that we had with the epidemics of SARS and MERS over the last 20 years. Both of them had significant mortality rates, death rates. This one looks like, and it's early, and so there are a lot of things that a lot of questions that we don't have specific answers to. But it looks like it's contagion. It's a little more contagious, significantly more contagious than the flu, the annual flu that goes around. It's probably a little more deadly than the flu, the annual flu, which, as you know, kills tens of thousands a year in the United States every single year. And this year, it's I think it's up to about 18,000 or so. It is something to be concerned about. It's to think about seriously. But it doesn't mean that our society has to come to a screeching halt. And that's what I would tell folks. Now, when you've got folks like your son and daughter-in-law, I believe you mentioned, those individuals need to be cautious, obviously. One has a compromised immune system, and so you need to take certain precautions from that. The other one who has been exposed needs to isolate themselves from contact with others. It's pretty clear how this is spread. That is with air droplets. It's that somebody sneezes or coughs around other individuals, or they sneeze on a surface or cough on a surface, and the virus lives for a period of time on that surface, not forever, but for a period of time. Somebody else touches that, like a doorknob or a plate or a counter or something like that. And then the reason that folks are all concerned about touching your face is because that's a mode of transmission. You touch your mouth, you touch your nose, you touch your eye. We do it all the time, as I know folks are discovering when they think about it consciously. And you just can't do that. So a lot of hand washing, a lot of making certain that you're keeping your personal space appropriate, and that's 3 to 6 feet away from others, especially for individuals that have been exposed to the virus itself.
Those are really good points, and I want to talk about this. It seems like we're in a panic here. I don't know if we really are. Have we overreacted by the closures of businesses and this whole idea of social distancing? Have we overreacted, or is this appropriate?
Well, as you've heard the experts say, you really don't know right now. It feels like an overreaction. There's no doubt about it. As Tony Fauci, who's as knowledgeable as anybody in terms of virology in the United States that we have, he says if it feels like you're overreacting, then you're probably doing things just about right. But this one feels a lot different because we have reacted in a way that's closing down not just schools, not just businesses, but truly closing down our economy for a period of time. Now, if it's 2 weeks, I think we probably survive that pretty well. If it's 2 to 3 months or longer, then the people that I talk to about the economy, they're not certain how we get through that. Understanding that our economy is one built on commerce, it's built on exchange of services and of products, and that individuals actively get out there and purchase those goods and services. So. It's tough to know whether we're overreacting. However, to put it in just the context of the annual flu, as I think I mentioned, there are 36 million Americans right now who have been exposed to the annual flu. So far, we have about 22,000 deaths in the United States this year from the annual flu. The H1N1 virus that folks will remember from about 10 or 12 years ago. That had about 12,500 deaths in the United States in a relatively short period of time, about 12 to 18 months. So this doesn't feel like that from a death standpoint, from a mortality standpoint from the flu, but it's very, very early. So I think the thing that's important to appreciate is, yes, this is new and it's unique, but it's not unknown. We don't have a vaccine and we don't have treatment yet for it. We will, and that's important for folks to appreciate. This doesn't go on forever. The contagious rate and the mortality rate probably is a little higher than the annual flu. But the thing that's different about this, and it truly appears to be different, is that there are folks who are carrying the virus. They've caught the virus, but they're asymptomatic. That means that they don't feel any different than they would normally on a healthy day. And therefore, they are likely able to infect others when they don't feel badly. So we can't just say to folks, once you feel badly, stay home, because there are folks who have the virus, have caught the virus, are probably passing that along to others and without their knowledge. And that's why people are so concerned about young folks getting it. They appear to be very hardy from a survival standpoint, and some of them won't even know they've ever had it, but they can give it to others.
So we know that Europe closes down for a whole month. They just go on vacation all of August, and it doesn't seem to stop the world when Europe is on vacation. So we know that that the survival rate economically for a month is probably pretty good. But now they're talking about sending checks to everyone. What do you think about that as a conservative? I want to get into the politics now a little bit with you, because after all, you sat there on that budget committee. You watched those trillions of dollars just pile up. And here we're talking about $1 trillion stimulus going directly to citizens, the airlines, and I think small businesses. So talk about that.
Well, I think before I do, and I'm happy to do so, but before I do, I think it's important to make a distinction between the month-long holiday that some nations take and what we're facing here right now. Because in that month-long holiday, remember, people are out in the community and they're going out to lunch, they're going out to dinner, they're buying train tickets, they're buying plane tickets, they're going to hotels, they're going to the theater, they're on and on and on. And all of that appears to be in the process of being shut down here in the United States right now. And elsewhere, frankly. So I think that it is different. It's important that we know that it's different so that we don't just say, well, this isn't anything to worry about economically, because it is something to worry about economically. In terms of what to do economically, if this is indeed the pandemic that some folks have been talking about for a long time, and if you get huge amounts of deaths across the world, then I guess the answer is you do whatever you need to do to get through it. But as you said, as a fiscal conservative, it pains me to watch and listen to see how not cavalierly, but how rapidly we've escalated the number of zeros we're adding to the balance sheet of the United States, understanding that we're already about $23 trillion in debt. And, and what that means is that we're borrowing from the next generation or generations at this point. And we need to do what we need to do to get through this, yes. But I certainly hope that those who are making those decisions now are soberly reflecting on this and thinking about it in ways that aren't just knee-jerk reactions to what is clearly a challenge and a crisis. You watch the markets, and I know a lot of folks are watching the markets, and you see the red numbers, and you see it continue to go down, and you say, "My goodness, how on earth can we withstand that?" We will sustain, tolerate this. We will stand. We will get through it. We will come out the other side again with treatment and a vaccine that will come online at some point. Would that it comes online sooner rather than later, and then the economic activity can kick back up again.
Well, one last question here. My mayor, and I say that very loosely, she's a Democrat I did not vote for, mandated that all non-essential businesses be closed. That sounds almost unconstitutional. What do you think?
Well, in emergencies, we allow our executives to have remarkable power. I live in Georgia, and the state of Georgia, the governor declared an emergency. The legislature came in yesterday and authorized the emergency powers. And those emergency powers here, as I know they are elsewhere around the country, are very, very powerful and extend to all sorts of things, like closing down businesses, like utilizing services for another purpose, and the like. So I think we need to be, for a short time, I think that it's probably a reasonable thing until we see whether or not we are actually blunting the increase in the incidence and the transmission of this disease. We'll know that pretty doggone quickly. And once we see that, then I think we can begin to, and we ought to be thinking now about whether or not there's a differentiation between folks who are working in society, who are younger, who we need out there, making certain that there's a productivity that's occurring within our economic system, and ensuring or encouraging and trying to communicate to them that they need to isolate from those that are potentially more at risk. Folks over the age of 65 or 70, certainly those that have other comorbidities or other challenges, especially heart and lung diseases that where they are clearly at a greater risk for not just the infection, but for having severe consequences from the infection if it were to occur.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, our guest is Congressman Tom Price. He served in the U.S. House of Representatives, serving Georgia's 6th Congressional District. He was also appointed Secretary of Health and Human Services by President Trump. Congressman Price, I wonder about the hysteria of all this. Each and every year we go through this flu season. As you mentioned, thousands of people die each and every year, but yet we haven't seen this. One statistic I saw coming out of the CDC said that last year, 43 million people got the virus. Over 61,000 people died from it, but nothing was closed down at that point. You know, we didn't have this hysteria. We didn't have these calls for shutting down businesses, shutting. The Atlanta Braves aren't going to start their season. Neither will the Philadelphia Phillies. Maybe the Atlanta Falcons, their season might be pushed off. And Congressman, to be honest with you, this feels very similar to me to 2008. When the country was hit with a banking crisis. At that time, everybody was saying, wow, this might be the end of our country. We might go into a depression that we never might recuperate from. And here we are, Congressman, once again, here we are in an election year. We are in the middle of the cold and flu season. And right away, we have this hysteria going around. As a result of this, the Dow has lost 10,000 points, just about wiping out all the gains that has been made during the Trump administration. And I look at where this hysteria is coming from the left, coming from the mainstream media. And once again, I think that it is a ploy to affect our upcoming elections. Congressman Tom Price, am I thinking too far outside the box on this one?
Well, I don't discount what you're saying, but I would say again that the reason I think that we're seeing the incredible breadth of response that we're seeing is because of the unknowns that we have with this. We don't have treatment for this right now. We don't have a vaccine for it now, unlike the annual flu, that where we do have a vaccine. Sometimes, some years it's better than others, but we do have a vaccine. Things that are known tend to be less scary and less frightening than things that are unknown. So there are a lot of unknowns about this, and that's where the challenge comes. But I think that's the reason that I'm concerned about where we find ourselves right now is that that's when cooler heads ought to prevail. More sober reflection ought to occur. I don't begrudge the policymakers, the president, the vice president, all the folks that are working as hard as they can to try to address this situation. I do think that many in the media have drummed this up to a huge lather, and you know whether or not their motive is political or not. I'll allow others to draw conclusions on that. I have some suspicions because of the actions that have occurred over the last 3.5 years, frankly, on virtually any activity that has occurred. But I do think that it's important for people to appreciate that this is a challenge that we need to confront and we need to solve and get over, and we will. And I think that a logical, methodical process of what the plan is, what the strategy is, so long as the American people know that there's a plan in place and there's a strategy in place that makes sense and that the American people can rally around, then that gives the kind of certainty where right now we have uncertainty. And so, as I say, I think the next 2 weeks are going to be very telling, because I think it's likely that these remarkable isolation activities that are occurring have to some significant degree, blunt the transmission of this new infectious disease, this virus, throughout our society. And then I think in that period of time, 1 to 2 weeks, as opposed to 3 to 4 months, it's important to reflect on what we've done, how it's worked, and what the next steps ought to be over this 2-week period of time, so that we can get back to some semblance of normalcy.
Congressman Sharron and I talked a couple of weeks ago about where our medicines are being made. Dr. Scott Gottlieb, who was part of the Food and Drug Administration, testified that about 80% of all our medicines today are made in China. On top of that, Fox News reported this morning that a state-run media agency in China, considered the mouthpiece of the party in Beijing, bragged about its handling of the COVID-19 virus. Now, the article also claimed that China would impose pharmaceutical export controls, which would, quote, plunge America into the sea of coronavirus. Yet President Trump says today, he said, we have good relationship with China. I don't know if we can trust China. Do you?
Well, I know that we can't trust China for a lot of things. I know that the information that that China released publicly in the international health community was not timely on the beginning of this. I know that there are strong reports that I believe that they blunted the internal communication from health professionals within China who were trying to bring alarm and raise the red flag early on. So I know that China is not the most candid actor on the world stage. And that gives me great pause when they say things like that. And who knows whether that's for domestic consumption or whether that's truly international, a threat or international consumption. What I do know is that this is a learning experience. This is a time of great opportunity for us as a nation to say, look, we need to make certain that the supply chains for our pharmaceuticals, especially our life-saving pharmaceuticals, you may want them to be made elsewhere for economic reasons, but there has to be a plan B, a fail-safe domestically, so that the supply chain can be cranked up here as necessary and as needed. We can't be held hostage to other countries especially countries that as you highlighted in their language, may not have the best interest of the United States at heart.
Congressman, in an interview you did with a fellow by the name of Jim Galloway in the Atlanta Constitution and Journal, you said this epidemic, put your trust in science and institutions. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, one of the things that drove me into the public policy arena and for elective office was that I oftentimes saw individuals, well-meaning individuals, most certainly, but individuals who would make decisions upon which they really had no business or knowledge to make those decisions. And so when we have a crisis like this, when we have an emergency like this, I think it's really important that we listen to the individuals who do in fact know. And those are our public health officials. Those are the folks who studied this for decades, for all their professional lives. And that's why I've tried to convey to folks that a new infectious disease is a challenge. There's no doubt about it. But there's a logical, methodical way to approach it. And if we stick to the science of this, the science will guide us in the right directions and make certain that we respect those decisions that are being made and allow those decisions to be made. So, for example, when a public figure who holds a position of trust at an executive level makes a decision and reads forth and puts forth an edict about something for societal activity, I just want to be certain that those decisions are coming from the folks who really know that they ought to be done. And this is a large nation. The fact that something is done in one area doesn't necessarily mean that it ought to be done in another area. But the folks that know those things are the public health officials and those folks that have huge knowledge about this and are working, many of them working overtime to try to make certain that we get through this. And there's exciting prospect that is in the near term with a vaccine trial beginning yesterday. That's the earliest, it's the soonest any vaccine trial has begun. I think back to the H1N1, and a vaccine was online for that within a relatively short period of time, within a number of months, as opposed to the 12 to 18 months, which is typical. But there's no reason why we ought not think that we ought not be able to get a vaccine sooner than that. And then if I look at the places where this has indeed, we've kind of run the cycle, China being the best example, and I know that it's tough to rely on their data. However, it is clear from folks' information that is come out of China, they're through their large peak, and that took about 3 months. Their first diagnosis of disease was early to mid December, so it took them about 3 months to get to where they're really on the downside of their peak. There's no reason to believe that our timeline would be any different than that if we do the right kinds of things from an infectious disease public health standpoint.
Congressman, talking about the peak, do you think that we may be a little fortunate in this respect, because usually the peak for the flu and virus season is mid-April? Now here we are at mid-April and we're on the downslope of that heading into summer. Do you think we caught a break with that with the coming on of summer, more sunshine, brighter days, warmer temperatures, people not locked inside, but maybe getting out and working in their gardens, that might have been a little break for us?
Well, it may be, but there's another unknown, because although every coronavirus that we've had to date has been a seasonal virus, we don't know that this will act exactly the same. And so I believe that it likely will, and there are folks on both sides of that, but we'll see relatively soon. I'm hopeful that that's the case, because I think you're absolutely right. When folks get out, when we're not cooped up inside and with the warmer weather, then we tend to see a downward slope in the incidence of coronavirus infections. Hopefully, this is the same for this new virus as well.
Well, Congressman, when you talk about listen to people who know, that's why we ask you to be part of our show. Congressman Tom Price, we want to thank you so much for being part of the Conservative Commandos. Could you please give our listeners an idea of where they should go to get the real facts, to get the real information, rather than listening to rumor?
Well, I think there are a couple good sites. I think the Johns Hopkins has a pretty doggone good site on almost real time in the number of cases worldwide. It's a little bit cumbersome to work through, but when you get used to it, I think you can tell where the United States is, and we're at about 5,000 cases now with 92 or 93 deaths. So you can track that and get a sense about what that incidence is and when we crest in terms of the highest incidence of disease across the country. CDC.gov is another site that has good information. I'm a little disappointed because it seems to be a little. It takes a little time for it to update. There are some local sites, and I don't know about other local news outlets, but there's some local news outlets here in the Atlanta area that have an update annually or daily at noon, as does our state, to tell what the state looks like, and I suspect that that's true. I think if folks search online for their own area, that they'll find folks that upon whom they can rely. But it's important to get that kind of real-time good information, because that allows you then to make an assessment about how we're doing. And people want to know. They want to have that information. This ought not be hidden. This ought to be very transparent in what's going on.
Congressman Tom Price, anyway, people can keep in track of what you're up to, what you're doing.
Well, I'm at tomprice.com. They're welcome to go to my website, and we're trying to continue to be a positive influence out here in society, especially in the healthcare arena. We look forward to getting through this challenge. And I might say that again, because I think it's important for people to hear this from folks who've got a little gray hair and have been around for a little while. We will get through this. We will find a treatment for this. We will find a vaccine for this. And I believe we'll come out on the other end of this wiser and certainly stronger as a nation. My wife and I have been taking daily walks outside to kind of blunt the being inside as much as we have been. And I've just been heartened by the number of families that I see out enjoying the outdoors and this wonderful springtime weather. So I think it's important for all of us to kind of take stock, remember the things that are indeed important. For those who are so inclined in your audience, individuals of faith, it's time. It certainly is time to ask the good Lord to shine His grace upon us. I'm not certain how this will end, but I personally know the individual that does know how it will end, and I believe strongly that the more prayers that are offered out there, the better off we'll be coming through this.
Well, I know Sharron Angle will, and I both agree with you on that. Congressman Tom Price, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Thanks, Rick, so much. Sharron, be good. Take care. God bless y'all.
And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to be having Bob Powell joining us. Bob Powell has 50 years experience in the financial world, and we're going to be speaking with him about how the coronavirus is affecting the stock market and business. Don't go away. We will be right back with our next guest.
Are you a veteran and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved. And it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply. And mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty?
We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt. Always fear, the debt suckers are here!
Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution.
Because debt sucks!
The AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. Buyyourtimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94.
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 5100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. My co-host is Sharron Angle. I'm Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, please check out our website, CCRShow.com. That's CCRShow.com. You'll find rebroadcasts of our radio show there, our TV show, as well as a lot of other terrific articles and information. And with that, Sharron, I'd like you to introduce our next guest. He's a gentleman who I've known for about 25 years now, a man who my wife and I trust a lot and have trusted with our finances. So, Sharron, please make that introduction.
Oh, it's my pleasure to introduce Robert Powell, who started his career in finance in 1969 as an OTC trader in Philadelphia, and then he became an investment advisor with Janney Montgomery Scott until 1993. He was recruited by A.G. Edwards and Sons until that company was sold, and then he went to Legg Mason until it was acquired by Morgan Stanley. He was then recruited by Raymond James in 2012 until he retired in 2017, where he transferred Alpha Capital Partners to the capable hands of Tyler Mercer. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show, Robert Powell.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Well, we're glad to have you, especially when we're watching the stock market. Yesterday, today, it seems like every time the president goes on, it does one of two things. It either goes way down or way up. It's this instability that's driving everyone crazy, and especially the market. So talk to us a little bit about what's causing all of this market reaction that we're seeing.
Well, you have these reactions that come in twofold. They can be purely economic. So like the 1987 collapse, which also went down over 35%, that was the savings and loan crisis and the installing for the first time of high-speed computerized trading. That second one is also what affects the market today. It's in the same percentages, but the numbers are astronomically higher. So the other kind is the more generic, like this is a surprise bio weapon, if you want to use that term, event that was not foreseen, or they didn't think it would be this difficult or in this country. But in 2001, we had 9/11. Well, the event was a terrorist attack. It was not an economic event, but it did cause an economic tsunami, which then lasted for the rest of the year into low 2002 before we had another recovery of the market.
So let's talk a little bit about this coronavirus, how it's affecting this. Now, doesn't really have anything to do with the economy per se, but it could really have a dramatic effect on the economy. I know my mayor has said non-essential businesses must close, mandated. They must close in our city. What about that? What will that do to the markets?
Well, you can see what it's doing. And the market tends to anticipate the worst case scenario. They tend to be more, what would be the proper political correct term? They love to go for sensationalism. If you watch what Trump and his administration have on their plate right now, it's nothing short of amazing, despite the fact that he has very little support from the House. But he's doing everything under the guidance of some of the top people in the world, not just this country, in order to reunite the people to act on their own behalf. And that's the beautiful thing that's going to come out of this. The virus, from what we understand, was a weaponized standard virus, and China did obtain it. Now, whether they accidentally released it or it was in retaliation of all the actions that Trump has made them accountable for in the last year, that will remain to be seen.
Well, now, when we talk about this on an economic level, I invest, and so when the stock market goes down, do I buy? I mean, these same companies are the same companies today. They'll be the same companies tomorrow. They haven't suffered any kind of economic challenge, really. They're stabilized, and they're good companies. Do I buy now, buy cheap, and ride the wave? How far is the wave going? I guess I want some insider advice here.
It has two parts. The one is, this is not the end of the world. It was not a meteor hit. It wasn't an atomic bomb over in Yellowstone that's going to completely annihilate the world. And it's certainly not the Spanish flu, which wiped out a tremendous amount of people way, way back over 100 years ago. So this is a vehicle that is going to cause a short-term economic quicksand of benefits, or not benefits, but earning ability, especially for the small and mid-cap type companies. And some of the big companies like your entertainment, your cruise ships, and hotel chains, they will all be indirectly affected because we are supposed to be staying home, not doing the purchasing spontaneously, except for food and medical needs. So it will have an economic effect. And that's why what we're forecasting is that if the virus does continue to burn itself out, which they are telling us it will, that will be by July. And the flattening of the curve so we don't have too many people that are affected with this, that should also level out and begin going down. If we can trust the Chinese data, that has already started from 2 months ago when they had the problem. So how it affects the market is, to your question more specifically, is if you have you're contributing currently to IRAs and 401ks and 403bs, continue to move your money into the market. You're buying good quality companies in diversified portfolios at much discounted pricing. I often relate it to, you can't find at Christmas time a place to park at the mall when everything is 100% marked up. But in January, you can find plenty of parking and you can get 30 to 40% discounts. People gobble that up. But when stocks go on sale for 30 to 40%, they think it's the end of the world. So historically, it's a good context, which I will provide some pictures for you to put on your site there. But we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these different patterns to the market where we have had these 30% corrections. And 8 to 10 months later, we are at new highs in the marketplace. If you are a retiree, however, and you're taking money from your account, it is critical that your advisor is using some defensive strategies, that is going to cash and in certain cases, but not now, bonds, so that you don't, your principal is not affected to the full extent that the stock market, which has already cleared over 30% down. So the opportunity here is phenomenal for those who still have time on their side before they need to turn the spigot on to support their lifestyle.
You know, you're just full of good news for us old people. We are. We're the most vulnerable to this coronavirus, and now you're saying we're going to take a double hit financially because we can't buy low and sell high. we're in a. Go ahead.
You can with a good proactive advisor. What we don't like to see for retirees is money that is tied up and you can't take it out without penalties or tax consequences. That happened in 2000. It happened in 2008 and 9. That was an economic event. It was the meltdown of the banking system as it was in 87. 87 was the savings and loans. This happened after the repeal of Glass-Steagall by the Clinton administration. And 10 years later, we had a collapse of real estate, loans, lending, and banks. So you have to know when to get out of those types of situations before they become those macro downturns of 30 to 50%. And that is where a good advisor would be advising you on the core structure of your portfolio. So to give you an example, to this day, my partner that now is controlling my client base, we received a sell signal, a warning signal, about a month and a half into this decline, or a week or two into the decline back in early February. He began raising some cash. Now, typically, because we didn't know the extent of this, we were looking at the possibility of a 10 to 15% correction, not necessarily unusual for the stage that we are in. So he had some cash on hand. The computerized trading kicked in and really it doubled that loss factor. So he was able to pull some of it out, but not all of it, which we wouldn't do anyway. But now the question becomes, we have it in cash, so we've stopped the bleeding. When do we go back in? And this is where his technical knowledge that he and I share all the time, and the research that is coming from a quality firm like Raymond James, who he is with, can give him that kind of day-to-day input. And actually, because of this sell-off yesterday and today, we have a bounce up, and that could be the first indicator that we have met the downside risk levels of 25 to 30%, and now he'll be putting that 30% that he had eventually raised back into the market. So the beauty of the market, whether it's retirees or younger generations who are just getting started, it's one of the few places that you can get over long periods of time 9 to 20% returns with total liquidity. And that is the key, especially for all of us old gray hairs that can't afford to take a big hit.
Well, thank you for clearing that up for me, because I was feeling really, really low about where I'm at. We do need to take a break. We are talking with our guest, Robert Powell, about the stock market. And is it time to get back in? Are we on the sale now? Or is it a good time to take advantage of this 30% sale and get some investments made? We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of our show, check out our website, ccrshow.com. And of course, you can watch us now on the AUN TV network. I'm Sharron Engel here with my co-host Rick Trader, and we'll be right back.
Are you a veteran and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved. And it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply. And mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty?
We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt. Always fear, the debt suckers are here!
Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution.
Because debt sucks!
The AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. Buyyourtimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94.
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 5100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. My co-host is Sharron Engel. I'm Rick Trader. And as I always like to do, I want to give a shout out to folks who are listening to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, Arlington, Virginia, and Washington, D.C., and also seen on the AUN television network in San Francisco, Sacramento, San Jose, Wine Country, Silicon Valley, all the way up to Redding, and very soon in Reno and in Carson City. Our guest this segment is Bob Powell. Bob has 50 years experience in the markets. He started out as an OTC trader in Philadelphia and has been partners in many firms over his career. And let me just say, in all honesty, Bob is a gentleman who I've known for about 25 years now and always have found him interesting and very educational to me. In fact, one time my wife said, "Why don't you ever say much when Bob's at the house explaining things?" And I said, "Well, honey, I can't learn anything if I'm talking, but I can learn if I'm listening." So Bob Powell, welcome back. Thank you for holding through that break. I think we just lost Bob.
We did. We lost him about 2 or 3.
Yeah, I saw him flash off.
Yeah, you saw it? Okay.
Yeah, here he's back. Hey, Bob, we got you back.
Okay, I'm lost on the screen, but I can still go ahead and talk for you.
Right, we got you on the screen. That's just okay. If you can just shift to your left just slightly.
Oh, other left.
The other left.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. That's good. Bob, thanks for holding through that break. We really appreciate your time. Bob, one of the things I always enjoyed about our relationship over the past 25 years is how you've always been able to associate politics with the market. And to be honest with you, what the feeling I have now during this coronavirus is very reminiscent of a feeling that I had back in 2008. During the banking crisis, when the sky was falling in at that time, it seems to me, Bob, that we have these crises and they seem to correspond with presidential election years. Am I thinking too outside the box, Bob, here? Because I really do think that this whole crisis has been manipulated and blown out of perspective by the media and the left. Your thoughts?
It's an interesting historical observation, yes. Some of it is politically, I think, manipulated. However, the economic part of it I don't think it is. I don't think that we would have had anywhere near a decline. It should have been in the 10 to 15%. That would have been totally normal. the media would not have gone bonkers over it had we not had the virus wrapped around it. If they are correct and this virus ends up being nothing more than a slightly more serious normal virus, which we've all been getting since the late 70s, and that I think is not a coincidence either, because growing up as a child in the 50s and 60s and early 70s, I don't remember anybody getting viruses every single year of one name or another. So I think there is some kind of experimental stuff that's going on. It can be gotten out of hand, but the media does not do a fair job, in my opinion, to really just reporting for what it is. They need to always overlay it onto a political agenda. So I would agree almost all 100% to what your observation was.
Bob, a lot of people are asking the question, does this put us into a recession? Or are we heading towards a depression?
Depression, no, definitely not. Recession, yes. It would have happened under a more smooth term had we not had the virus. There was a lot of the market had gotten ahead of itself, too exuberant relative to future earnings. So when we measure where we are going, it's a cardiogram of the economy. And yes, we were overheating, so you got to slow the car down or turn the engine off for a while to let it cool off. That's a recession. It's not a recession is not the end of the world. It's a perfect opportunity just to tweak the portfolios to make sure that you're on the right track. Now, you have to, as I said, you have average of 13 to 15 years of bear markets, which is like the last one was from 2000 to 2013. In that 13-year period, you had two drops that exceeded 35 to 40%. That's normal in a macroeconomic, the real big picture. And I have some charts that I will forward so you can publish them, but that is the Dow that shows those types of trends. And the S&P 500 does the same thing. We like the 500 because it does represent 500 stocks in every sector of the economy, so it is truly a heartbeat of where we are. If you don't know where you are in one of those macro trends, you can lose a lot of money. And that's the biggest argument that I have. So when we look at that, we always study where are we in the macro trend, what are the goals of the client and your use of that money that you're saving, whether it's retirement or personal, and then place you accordingly into either a more conservative in a bear market, or the average length of time in a bull market is about 15 to 18 years. So if we go with the conservative side and say that the market is coming, it's still in a bull market since the bottom of the market in 2009, 2010, 15 years out, we're not going to end this bull market until 2023, 24, or 25. And a lot of that, it could actually go longer if current political agendas get back on track to serving the country and its needs instead of just all political agendas.
Bob, right now the president is proposing an $800 billion stimulus package, and I need to kind of wrap up three questions all in one because we're running short on time. $800 billion stimulus package. How do you feel that this is going to affect Trump? How do you feel that this is going to affect the 2020 elections? Do you feel an $800 billion stimulus package is needed? If so, do you think that's enough? And also, how do you, if you could look into a crystal ball looking out to the 2020 elections, how do you think this might affect the 2020 elections and the re-election of Donald Trump or not?
Yes, I do think it's good. He is stepping up to the plate, taking all the necessary things to control the virus so that it does not get pandemic in true reality. The second thing is the recession will have to work its way out. and that will happen by the first of the year. So there will be some spin from his election going into October. I think that this virus, based on the professionals that we have been reading, will be a non-starter by August. Then you'll go right into all of the hoopla over the election. And should Trump not win, then that's a whole nother ball game. And that's more scary to me than the virus. If Trump, his values, and he can gain more seats in the House, I think you're looking at a 6 to 8 more year bull market that will be unprecedented in the history of this country.
Bob, one last thing. I really do feel that the country tends to, when we're in a crisis like this, the country after the initial shock tends to rally around the president. And I use 9/11 as an example, how the country rallied around George W. Bush. I use the first Gulf War as an example, how the country rallied around his father, George Bush. Do you think that the same thing is going to happen here with Donald Trump if he plays his cards right, that the country will rally around him, and this may, in fact, actually benefit him?
Absolutely. We've had a deterioration thanks to the far left and the dominance of the media covering their ideological values to offset the goodness and the unity that this country has. We had a phenomenal, after World War II, rallying into and out of World War II. As we got closer to the 60s, even after the Korean War, there was a lot of that. The 60s was our dividing line of value, what's going on in the country, what's the media telling us, and we had a lot of dissension. Crisis, whether it was the tornado in Nashville, just an hour's drive from our home here, was phenomenal. Every one of these crises, whether it's the hurricanes, the tornadoes, or whatever, people rally around people. That's all he's asking us to do with the coronavirus. So he is the leader. He is the commander-in-chief. He will be our next president if he continues on this path. $800 billion is not going to do anything. And matter of fact, if he even has to finance it, he's going to be financing it less than 1.5%. When Obama left the administration, all of our debt was almost over 6%. And the Trump administration is trying to refinance all of our other debt other than unfunded pension liabilities at these low rates where we are today. It's a phenomenal opportunity for this country and reflected by the market gain that you're going to see over the next 4 to 5 years.
Bob, I got to ask you this question, even if we go a little bit long on this segment. For the people who didn't get out, and I've talked to a few of those people who was looking at the stock market at about 30,000 today, it's 20. For the people who couldn't get out or didn't get out, what's your advice for them today?
All they need to do is reevaluate what they are holding, and if they have an advisor that can tweak it to take full advantage of the future recovery. I think that by this time next year, this market from this 2,300 level will be back up, most likely over 4,000.
Wow. Bob Powell, I missed you, buddy. I missed our conversations that we used to have in your office in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. But it's great to speak with you again. And Bob, for people that want more information about how the coronavirus is affecting the stock market and potentially their investments, where do you suggest people go?
Well, if they are in the area, I would ask them to call Tyler Mercer, specifically at Raymond James in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. He's very, very highly qualified. I mentored him into the business. He knows the technical, he knows the historical context, and he would be happy to review and help them choose different choices if they need it. If they don't have that, or if you're on the other side of the country, if you know a good advisor, they should be able to do the same thing. You know, it's not a buy-hold environment, but you can stay fully invested if you're young enough. Again, to Sharron and myself, and you know, we don't like to see this kind of volatility, but there are opportunities there to retweak the portfolio to take full advantage of the recovery. That recovery will happen.
All right, Bob Powell, again, great to see you again, Bob. Great to speak with you. Take care, and God bless.
Thank you, sir.
And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with a longtime friend of the show, Paul Driessen, about, okay, all these new green dealers who want to get rid of fossil fuels. What are they going to do after they get rid of all the fossil fuels? Life will not be the way they know it. Don't go away. We will be right back with our next guest.
A veteran, and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans, and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved, and it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply, and mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty?
We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt. Always fear, the debt suckers are here!
Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution.
Because debt sucks!
The AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. Buyyourtimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94.
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 5100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. Once again, for rebroadcasts of our show, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. Be sure to like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And with that, Sharron, our next guest is with us. And as you do with all our guests, please make him feel welcome.
Well, it's always a privilege and an honor for me to introduce our longtime friend, Paul Driessen, who is the Senior Policy Advisor for the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow, CFACT. And he's the author of articles and books on energy, environmental, and human rights issues. Paul, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Always nice to be with you guys. Thanks.
Well, it's our pleasure always to have you here. And you've written a new article. How exactly do they plan to replace fossil fuels? What a good question that is. You know, this whole global warming hoax. I guess I can't speak any plainer than that. It seems like that's their whole agenda, is to get rid of fossil fuels, natural gas, coal, anything that we burn, and put us right into what they think are clean energy sources, but actually are dependent upon those fossil fuels. So what's their idea? How are they going to replace it?
They really don't have the foggiest idea how they're going to do that. They think it's just a wave of the magic wand, beam it down from Starship Enterprise, something like that, because they've never really thought any of this through. I think part of it is they want to take complete control of our economy, our lives, everything we do, at some level reduce human populations. But the main thing is they just have not given any thought to how they get from the fossil fuels that provide 80% of our electricity, of our energy today in the United States, add in nuclear, where about 90% of all the energy we use in the United States, with those two things that they absolutely want to get rid of. What are they going to replace them with? Well, they say wind, solar, batteries, biofuels, things like that. And their claim is that these are clean and green and renewable and sustainable and free. And of course, wind and sunshine are free and they're renewable and they're sustainable. But harnessing those resources to serve mankind, to provide the energy that we need every single day, means all kinds of machinery. It means raw materials. It means land use impacts. It means human rights impacts all around the world from the mining operations. It means fossil fuels to do the mining and the processing and the manufacturing and shipping all those things to the United States and installing them and tearing them out and somehow they hope recycling the pieces that can't really be recycled. So none of that is clean, green, renewable, sustainable, and it's certainly not free. So it's all a big scam. Now, I believe in global warming. I believe in climate change. Climate change and global warming, global cooling have been real since Earth began. But I don't buy the notion that human beings are now driving climate change, that we can control the Earth's thermostat by controlling carbon dioxide, or that what we are seeing out there outside the windows of these computer modeling operations, that what we're seeing out there is unprecedented and it's going to be catastrophic. It's the same as it's always been. Slight acceleration, maybe barely measurable, but you go through Earth's history and you're not seeing anything that we haven't seen before many times.
Many times. Well, I'm glad that you mentioned the COVID virus, the coronavirus in in your article, the outbreak, because you said, how would we fight that if we didn't have fossil fuels? And I think people forget, especially on that side, that a lot of these fossil fuels are responsible for the plastics and the disposables and the things that we just take for granted in the medical community, as well as the climate control in our own homes, how much worse this could be if we had a wood fire, for instance, or had to go out and load coal in, or whatever. I don't know what they are thinking there. Talk to us about our dependence really upon fossil fuels for more than just getting around town in our car.
Yeah, well, of course, we're all of our petrochemicals, all our plastics, all kinds of things, the clothing we wear, either it's from synthetic materials or it's produced cotton, for example, growing crops that you have to have tractors and fertilizers and other things to grow, and those come from fossil fuels as well. Just looking at the energy prices, right now here in Virginia, we're paying about 9 cents a kilowatt hour for electricity. California is paying 19 cents a kilowatt hour on the average, but they price that out really as peak costs. So during the day when a lot of people are using electricity, the average homeowner is paying 30, 40, 50 cents a kilowatt hour. You start adding those kinds of prices into what a hospital pays, for example. You take the one just around the corner from us here, their average electricity bill is in the $1.5 million a year range. And if they were to, when Virginia just decided it's going to go 100% wind and solar and batteries in just a few more years, they're going to be doubling, tripling, quadrupling, quintupling those prices for electricity. How does a hospital in your neighborhood, my neighborhood, anywhere function when all of a sudden, instead of paying $1.5 million a year, it's paying $4, $5, $6 million a year? Where does that extra money come from? Either prices for all medical services, and this isn't just the hospitals, this is the clinics, it's the medical labs, the ones that are supposed to create a virus and an antidote for coronavirus and so forth. They're all going to be paying twice, 3 times as much as they are now for electricity. That means everything slows down. It means people get laid off. It means patient care goes way down. It means you don't get that laboratory work, the corona vaccine and so forth, the flu vaccine. So the impacts all across our lives are going to be tremendous. Schools will pay more, factories will pay more. They can't operate with intermittent, expensive, and unreliable weather-dependent energy. It just doesn't work for a modern society.
I'm so glad that you talked about that. And of course, we started our conversation a little bit with a history lesson on climate change and global warming and cooling. So let's just go back a short time in history to the brownouts and the energy waves that went through California when they first instituted their silly legislation that mandated green energy sources. Can you kind of give us an update on that kind of legislation and how it caused problems for them then, and it will cause problems for us now if we continue on that kind of a pathway?
Well, anytime you put in a tremendous dependence on intermittent wind and solar, you're putting extra strain on the electrical grid. If you don't have coal-fired, gas-fired power plants to back that energy up every time the wind stops blowing or it starts blowing too much, every time the sun stops shining, or in the middle of the winter, the direct rays of the sun are not very good, your production of electricity from wind turbines and solar panels goes way down. And as a result, you've got to kick in with some kind of a backup system. Coal-fired energy that is running on standby all the time, or gas-fired the same way, that ramps up to replace the lost wind and solar electricity. They're talking about batteries. If we're going to have 7 days worth of battery backup for days when the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing here in the United States, you would need over 2 billion half-ton Tesla battery packs, the kind they have in their cars. That's if they're 100 kilowatt hour battery packs. 85 kilowatt battery packs, you're talking something more in the range of 2.5 billion batteries. Each one is a half ton. Each one uses enormous amounts of cobalt and lithium and other materials that come out of the ground, have to be mined. And for every 1,000 tons of those materials, you're taking out about 100,000 tons, 50 to 100,000, maybe more tons of rock just to get to the ores and process those ores. So you're talking enormous environmental impacts. Over in Africa, where the cobalt is coming from right now, just to provide the cell phone and laptop and current Tesla car batteries for the cobalt that's needed for those, you've got 40,000 children working in these mines as young as 4 years old to provide us with that. We're talking about 2 billion battery packs for the Tesla size. How many millions of little children do they want to have working in those mines? They don't want to have any mining here in the United States. That's on top of all the intermittency, the brownouts, the blackouts that South Australia's had, that California's had, that we would have over and over and over as the grid gets hammered by this kind of intermittent electricity. You're talking about millions of children working in these mines. We're talking about millions of adults working in these mines, because these same Green New Deal types don't want to have any mining here in the United States under modern American laws and regulations. In those other countries, there are no such laws, regulations, anything for fair labor, child labor, decent wages, pollution controls, control of the toxic and radioactive substances, mine safety, workplace safety. People are dying over there from all kinds of lung and intestinal and cancer diseases. This is where this is going. And to say this is clean and green and free and sustainable, it's just a complete fraud, as you said.
Well, I'm going to have to leave my portion of this interview right there. We have to go to a break. But I'm really grateful to our guest, Paul Driessen, for giving us a reality check on the Green New Deal today, and really what it costs, not just economically, but in human life, in places that I believe that most of these politicians aren't even thinking about. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. Now you can watch us on the AUN TV network in Northern California, the green energy area, where windmills abound, but brownouts do too. And I'm here with my co-host. I'm Sharron Engel. My co-host is Rick Trader. We'll be right back after these messages with our guest, Paul Driessen.
Are you a veteran and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans, and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved. And it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply. And mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty?
We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt. Always fear, the debt suckers are here!
Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution.
Because debt sucks!
The AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94.
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 5100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. I'd like to give a shout out to the folks who are listening to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, now in Arlington, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and also the folks who are watching us on the AUN television network in Northern California. Our guest this segment is Paul Driessen. He's a senior policy advisor for the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow. He's the author of articles and books on energy, environment, and human rights issues. Paul, welcome back to Conservative Commandos, and thank you for holding through that break. We really do appreciate your time. Paul, you start out your article by saying they want to ban coal, oil, gas. Exactly how will they replace them? Who wins and who loses? Paul, who wins in this? I can't see anybody who could possibly win in this unless it's Elon Musk.
Well, certainly Elon, and certainly a lot of Democratic and other politicians, at least for a while, because they get to stand up there and get the applause lines for 15 seconds, 30 seconds of fame, and all the greenwashing they're doing, making it sound like they're going to save the planet from this mythical man-made climate disaster. But sooner or later, things are going to come crashing down, and that's what you're seeing already in Europe. Right. Millions of jobs at risk in Germany and elsewhere around Europe. People in Britain unable to heat their homes properly in the winter. Thousands, literally thousands of them dying, pensioners, older people, every year because they can't heat their homes properly, and it makes them more susceptible to all kinds of normal wintertime diseases. They're not eating properly. Their younger people don't have jobs. They don't have decent futures. They're being told, even by the new prime minister, they're going to have wind and solar, and get used to having electricity when it's available instead of when they need it. Get used to having it at 30 cents, 40 cents, 50 cents a kilowatt hour instead of 10 or 12 or 15 or 20. You can't live that way. You cannot run a business that way. You can't run your government that way. This stuff goes on and off with the weather. They're not going to have the backup systems. It's going to be like rolling our living standards, our lifestyles, our job base back to around 1900, 1920 levels. It's horrific. And these guys right now think they're getting away with this and thinking they're doing great things. They're getting all these plaudits from the left-wing media, the environmental groups, the electric companies, the utility companies kind of love it because they're getting billions of dollars in subsidies, and they're getting to go do their own greenwashing, get their own applause lines from the left end of the political spectrum. Sooner or later, it's going to come back and bite them. So they are currently the winners in this, but they won't be forever. And in the meantime, it's going to be the minorities, the poor, the small businesses, the hospitals, the patients in hospitals, school districts, everybody that needs electricity that's reliable, affordable, and as much as you need, they're all going to get shafted by this.
Right. Paul, you mentioned in your article some of the places that say within 10, 20, or 30 years, they want to completely eliminate fossil fuels. You mentioned Berkeley, Tacoma Park, Maryland, California, Connecticut, New York, Virginia, and other states. You mentioned regional greenhouse gas greenhouse gas incentives, such as RGGI, the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative in New England and in the central states. But let's put a face. Let's put a face on who gets hurt. You mentioned it a little bit, but also in your article, you said German families and businesses were pummeled by 172,000 local blackouts. Last year, 350,000 German families had their electricity cut off because they couldn't pay the bills. In Britain, millions of elderly people have to choose between heating their homes and eating decent food, many of them spending their days in libraries to keep warm, and that more than 3,000 die every year because they cannot heat their homes properly. Paul, in this country, we're going through this corona epidemic. About 75 people have died, and yet they're closing down businesses, restaurants, bars, health spas, because of basically 75 people have died, but thousands have died because they can't heat their home properly. Thousands more have died because they live in poverty. That could be reversed with cheap energy. Paul, you know, we've got to get away from the idea that fossil fuels is dirty, number one, that cheap energy is a dirty word. In my opinion, nothing has brought more people out of poverty than cheap fuels. Paul, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong.
You're absolutely not wrong. Fossil fuels have brought people's lifespans and living standards way up since 1900. Just remember, 1900, the average life expectancy for an American was 48 years, 47, 48 years. Now it's 78. That's all because of fossil fuels. They make these claims that fossil fuels dirty up the atmosphere. Well, right now, the only thing that they're dirtying it up with is carbon dioxide, which is plant food, and water vapor, which is also plant food. That's what comes out of the smokestacks today. You go to wind and solar and batteries, you're going to have massive amounts of the countryside covered in solar panels and wind turbines, hundreds of thousands of wind turbines up and down the East Coast. I don't know where they're going to put them on the West Coast because the water is too deep. So maybe they'll just cover the beaches all up and down California, and then Puget Sound area will be blanketed.
No, it won't happen, Paul, because nobody wants it in their backyard. Let's put it in somebody else's backyard. You know, Paul, you were talking with Sharron. You were talking about batteries. 2 billion batteries, and you talk about the mines where the materials to make these batteries come from. Paul, is 2 billion battery packs, and those battery packs will last how long? About 7 years, 9 years, maybe?
Something like that.
And you need another 2 billion more battery packs. Is there enough lithium on Earth to keep us in batteries?
Well, I'm sure we can find it. You just have to dig trillions of tons of rock away and process millions of tons of ore. And you have to do that with fossil fuels. And then you have to find a place to put all the stuff that you've just chopped up, ground up. So it's not a clean, green process. And yet you've got these people in the UN screaming that, oh, this is terrible. The coronavirus is taking our attention away from climate change. We can't let that happen. These people are completely insane. I think we're going a little overboard probably in our response to coronavirus when we compare it to the flu, but we don't know exactly what we're dealing with yet. Yeah. We're trying to come up with the virus antidote, and we're working on that. You can't do that in a country that's run on ultra expensive, land gobbling, bird and bat chopping up energy that you can't rely on. And that costs so much more that you can't afford to run your factory. I don't know what's going to come out of this coronavirus in terms of small businesses that survive.
Oh, the poor. I feel sorry for them. They're being hammered by this. They're really being hammered. Paul Driessen, Senior Policy Advisor for the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow, CFAC. Paul, we want to thank you for joining us. Please tell our audience how they could follow your work and read your articles and also find out more about CFAC.
3 great places to go are cfact.org, cfact.org. You can find me there. Townhall.com. Go to the columnists. You'll find me there. And what's up with that? Watts, WATTS, up with that. Great websites. A lot of great conversations going on after an article is posted. And you'll learn a lot.
All right, Paul Driessen, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Sharon.
Well, Sharron, that just about wraps it up for today's show. As always, I want to thank you for sitting in as my co-host. And how can people keep track of what you're doing when you're not here on the Conservative Commandos?
Well, they can always find me at SharonAngle.com, SharonAngle.com. I want to thank our guests. They always make our show. They're the hallmark of our show, in fact. And we've had some great guests today. Congressman Dr. Tom Price, talking about the coronavirus, what you can do, how you can keep from overreacting, how you can protect yourself and your neighbors. And it was a great interview talking about not only the medical point of view, but also the political and economic point of view. And then we had our guest, Robert Powell, a new guest to us, who's a expert on the stock market. And we asked him, so should we buy now? Things are on sale, seem to be on sale. And of course, he gave us some good insights into the market and when we should be buying and selling. And finally, our guest, Paul Driessen, longtime friend with the Committee for Constructive Tomorrow, talking about how exactly do they plan to replace fossil fuels. And of course, they have no plan.
Of course not. Of course not. Great show, Sharron, once again. But for right now, we are out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.